There's a trend that started happening a few years ago online, especially on social media, and you could find these videos of people doing martial arts, men, women, and so on, that looked very spectacular. And they were often demonstrations of, for instance, brick breaking, or the infamous one of this Indonesian girl who supposedly had iron shins, and she would kick metal poles and or hit concrete walls and so on with her shins, seemingly. Now in the group, somebody recently posted a video of something very similar, but this was basically 2.0, the next generation of those kind of videos. What often happens with them is that they use video editing and fancy tricks basically to make it look really spectacular. But if you were to see it live, you would very quickly discover that it's by far not as impressive as it looks in the end result, the fully edited video. Now, to give you an example, the young lady in Indonesia who was doing these iron shin techniques where she would kick, metal objects and so on, it looked very fancy until you download the video and go frame by frame. And then you can see that there are actually frames missing about the moment she makes contact, which means that it looks very fast. If you remove a frame, the leg accelerates across the screen much faster than it normally would if you would have kept those frames in the footage. So, and then you could see that she's actually not really making all that hard contact and doing similar, fancy editing tricks that make the video look the way it looks, and basically confuses a lot of people as to what is possible for a variety of reasons. The main reason is that if you don't really practice martial arts self-defense for a long time, or you don't practice at a high intensity, you don't really recognize what is possible and what isn't. It takes a fair amount of training before you recognize what are actually some of the human limits. And then you still have these individuals who push past them. But overall, there are things that are a little bit too good to be true. And then often they are, as in many things in life. Now, the last few years, what we see now is this concept taken to the next level, especially with, just the average cell phone has a really good camera in it to not only take pictures, but also shoot at ultra high definition, 60 frames per second videos. And the results are quite good. So pretty much anybody can do this. You can even do the editing on your phone if you like. It's not as easy or as comfortable as doing it on a computer, but it's very easy to start playing that game and making those kind of videos. And there's a bunch of them nowadays, and somebody posted one of them in the Facebook group, and it's this typical scenario. Now you see two guys standing somewhere outside, and one of them is the aggressor, and he walks up to the guy and points his finger menacingly. Now what does the hero do? He grabs the finger, twists it, and does a joint lock on the finger, and then pushes his aggressor away in this very dramatic, flourished movement. Obviously, the bad guy comes back and grabs our hero by the throat, and the hero steps in and does this chopping motion to the throat of the attacker, who is just almost exploding backwards in slow motion after that tremendous impact. And you can hear the sarcasm in my voice, I guess. But the nice video editing is when you look at the way they set up that strike. So you see the initial encounter, there's the finger joint lock and pushing him away. The guy comes back again and grabs him by the throat, and our hero then, as he advances into that chopping movement to the throat, the camera does a traveling shot, which means it goes left to right, and it also zooms in. So what this does is it makes it look a lot more dramatic than it actually is. And at the same time, there's a slow motion effect that happens. So if you were to see that action in real life, it would be far, far less impressive. Now, let alone the whole scenario that was presented. That is a little bit far-fetched to begin with. There's a bunch of issues with it as well. So if you have somebody who's menacing you and you manage to do that finger joint lock, which, good luck with that, but by all means, if you can pull that off, that's great. Then you push the guy back, and that's it. You don't try to get away. You don't try to control him in any way. You just let him start over attacking you. So there's a huge disconnect right there. And then the second big mistake is that, and then you let him grab you. Somebody just showed you their intent to harm you, and what you do, you let them attack again. You let them make contact. By far, that is bad self-defense advice. By far. And the next thing is that how do you react then? Well, with potential lethal force, by chopping somebody in the throat, which has the potential to be a lethal technique. It doesn't necessarily mean it will be, but it has that potential. So you go from being able to control somebody with your joint lock, to letting that control go, to inviting in the next technique, which is just a grab, and your response to that is lethal force. So that makes zero tactical sense. And we could go on, and I mean, mostly for added dramatic effect, what happens in the video is that as he does the chopping motion, he lets his body come closer to his opponent. So you can see he's almost face to face. His head is almost touching the other guy's face at a certain point, as he allows himself to drift closer to his supposed aggressor. And the end result of that is that it violates every principle of functional self-defense, of common sense even, is that if you do close a distance and you strike, okay, well, why would you continue leaning forward if you're not doing anything with that? The only thing you are doing is exposing yourself to more danger potentially. So it's this accumulation of basically mistakes and just bad advice. And then the best part of it is that on the video itself is this text, which I'm guessing is the guys who made the video who put that in there. And it says "professional action!" exclamation mark. Do not imitate. So obviously a lot of people in the group found it incredibly funny and hilarious. And I have to admit that I agree with that assessment. There's not much professional about it. And I do agree with the fact that maybe you shouldn't imitate that. So why do I bring that up? Well, just recently somebody sent me a video and it said, "Oh my God, look at what these robots can do." It's kind of the whole message behind the video, and it was just somebody in a half pipe doing BMX tricks and so on, but it looked like a robot. I've been following AI and AI imaging and so on for a long time. And I said, and same thing with robotics, because it's an interest of mine. And I said to that person, like, okay, there's no way that this is real. Robotics is not at that stage yet. What is at that stage is AI videos. They actually took a footage of a guy, just a regular person, doing these tricks in a half pipe, and then they use special effects, special video effects to make it look like a robot. That's it. In a very, very low quality way. You can see that when you do voice calls on whatever app or system that you use, you can put a bizarre mask on your face, make yourself look like an animal or whatever, or suddenly you have a mustache and you can have that click and go away. That's very similar. It's just special effects. Now, the person who sent me this is obviously not stupid or anything, is intelligent enough, but if you're not in that field and you're not following it closely, you just heard people talking about robots and so on. You're not following it closely, so you have no idea how far things are just yet, what is possible, what is not. The same thing applies to this video of these two guys, the professional action stuff, is that if you're not familiar with true violence, actual violence, what is effective self-defense and what is not, you might be inclined to say, "Oh, that looks great. That is very effective." You'd be wrong. but it looks very spectacular. So why wouldn't you consider it that way? Because that is not your area of expertise at all, nor your area of interest. You just see it coming by, or as you scroll through different social media videos that you have on your device, and that one pops up, and you're like, oh, cool, and moving on. Well, there's plenty of these kind of videos going around, and as a result, a lot of people get their information from social media now. They have no idea how video editing works, how you can, using cinematographical techniques just basically to make things look a certain way, perspectives of the camera and so on. And they just believe anything they see, or they don't think twice about it, not dismissing it, not accepting it, but it just, there's more and more over the years of these kind of videos, so that eventually subconsciously people kind of accept them, or it forms the paradigms that they have about violence. It informs their worldview in a very incorrect manner, but nevertheless that's what's present because that's what they see. So that's what they think is going to happen in real life. And as you know, you guys in the audience know, that is by far not accurate. So is it wrong for people to do that? Not at all. They can do whatever they like. Nobody made me Ares, god of war, who decides what other people should do and how they should present themselves on video and so on. However, I do think that it's not really doing a service to anybody watching it. What it does do is help the person making the videos and spreading them get more clicks, get more followers. There is also nothing inherently wrong with that. It's only that what they are putting out there has a high entertainment value, but a very, very low instructional value. And having been making instructional videos for well over a decade now, having done a lot of video editing myself, I can attest to the difficulty of making something not only instructional of high quality, but also entertaining to watch. There's a balance there, but it's difficult. If you push the slider all the way over to the entertainment side, it's going to be fun to watch. Value is going to be low. You want to be able to learn much from it, but people will click on it. If you push that slider all the way to the other side, the high instructional value, not a lot of people will watch it, except those who are interested already. The people who might have watched it, if it was more entertaining, they're just going to switch off right away and scroll on to the next thing. So there is indeed a place for this kind of entertainment. The only thing is that it would be so much better if the people making those videos would then actually show themselves doing it in real life. If you have skill, if you have something that is actually going to work in real life, you'll be plenty fast. You'll be fast enough. You'll be impressive enough by just doing what you do well. So there's no reason to mess up the videos with all the fancy editing and slow-mos and cutting out frames from video footage to make it look faster and so on. There's no need for that, except if the only thing you care about is getting more followers, more clicks, and then selling whatever you sell. Then maybe I think, I'm not the one to tell people how to live their lives, but I think you're doing people a disservice, and you are doing yourself a big service by trying to make more money out of it. So that's kind of not really a rant for today, but just something to be aware of. If you watch these videos increasingly online, there's a lot of fake stuff out there. And if you're not into video editing, it's easy to be tricked by them. One way of understanding this better, if making videos is not something you do, is next time you watch a movie, you go to the theater, preferably the theater, if need be at home, but then darken the room, shut out all the other noise and so on, and only focus on the movie. Let's say it's an action movie. Okay, look at that and notice how it makes you feel. If you think it's a good scene, the fight scene is good, it's exciting and this and that, and then notice the camera movements. Is it shaky cam, which is what a lot of people do, is that the image is just jittery and moving all over the place? Is it just a traveling shot all the time, that they're moving around the actors and the stuntmen and so on? Which one of the latest Witcher episodes in the last season, you could see that there's a lot of traveling shots where just the camera's moving in between the actors and the stuntmen and so on, and circling, and it looks like one big giant battle. Now, if you watch the making of that scene, which is shot from a stationary position, and you see the actors and stuntmen working, it looks a whole lot less impressive. Then you add to that music and more special effects and so on, and all of a sudden you've got something that's really entertaining. But when you watch the making of it, it just looks bad. Also, Geralt's sword in real life is cut in half, because otherwise, Henry Cavill would actually end up hurting stuntmen. And then digitally they make it a full-length sword. So there's all these tricks that, when you make videos, that you learn over the years, and then obviously professional cinematographers, they will be much better at that, because they have big budgets and tools that can make it look very realistic. But increasingly, as these tools become better at a very cheap price point, meaning just your regular cell phone can do quite a lot of stuff video-wise that you just had no access to, not even 10 years ago. We're going to see an increase in these kind of videos that make it look really impressive, but actually have not that much value in the sense that they don't teach you all that much, and they're not very realistic, but they just look spectacular. People want to be entertained, and as human beings, we like stories. We like to believe in something. So the packaging of the content is something to be mindful of. If it's packaged in such a way that it looks great, it's a great story, it's entertainment, it's spectacular and so on, don't just assume, well, by default, that means this is going to work in real life. This is going to be valuable instructional material. The opposite is also true. Just because something looks boring, that doesn't mean that it's worthless. It only means that the instruction might take a little bit more time to be delivered completely, and you need more nuance, and you need more information to actually figure out what is important in the techniques or concepts that are being shown, as opposed to just showing a few techniques and making it look good, and then like, okay, now you go and see if you can figure it out. Well, that's it. I'm going to leave it there, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.